I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for FinextraTV here at EBAday 2025 in Paris, and I'm joined by Sheri Brandon, Global Head New Business, Worldline, and we're going to be chatting about all things instant payments. So Sheri, a big welcome here to our EBAday studio.
Thank you, Debbie. Very nice for having me. Thank you.
Of course, we're in Europe, so my first question has to be Europe related, and that is, how is the role of Europe taking shape within the context of global instant payments?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Debbie. And you know what? It's very exciting in the payments industry right now because, and especially within Europe, what we see is that even the non-Euro countries in Europe are now picking up on instant payments. They're implementing on their own, connecting to the instant payments systems. And you also see that, of course, due to the regulation, in 2027, the Eurozone, the non-Eurozone countries have to adhere to that regulation as well, meaning that by January 2027, they have to be able to receive, and by July 2027, they have to be able to send instant payments. So it means that within actually the whole SEPA area, suddenly, in a few years' time, we will be able to send and receive instant payments, also in non-Euro currency. So things are happening. I think the interoperability within the SEPA area is really happening, and that's really cool.
So Sheri, there's a lot happening on this landscape. So let's look at some of the trends that might be driving all this new technology and new operational systems. So what are the trends that you are seeing that could improve cross-border payments and take us into the future?
And that's a very important question because, you know, in Europe we had it for a while, we built regulation. But if you look at what's happening globally, you have everybody's watching the roadmap of the G20 on cross-border, of course. That will influence what we are doing here in Europe. Then there's, of course, the regulation coming up from the EPC on the one leg out cross-border INST scheme that was published last November, and obviously we will have to look at that. That will allow PSPs to process the one leg out euro payments rather smoothly using the SEPA rails. So that's an important one. And of course, the euro system, the ECB is getting ready for that. They're updating their target to their TIPS instant systems as well. And SWIFT is not standing still. SWIFT, their GPI, will influence the way we do cross-border payments. And finally, a project I love, really near to my heart, is from the Bank of International Settlements, which is the project Nexus, moving into global payment Nexus, which will connect national instant payment systems. And all of that actually will lead to a more interoperability, more collaboration, and the ability for also corporates who work on a global level to make their payments rather easy, right? So it's going to influence trade flows, it's going to influence international businesses. So very nice times ahead.
Nice times ahead, but I'm going to change the topic now to fraud. Can banks and PSPs get one step ahead of fraud without damaging that all-important customer experience?
Right, that's a very important question because instant payments means instant fraud, right? And we are now in a world of account to account within instant payments where, of course, we need to implement fraud rules and fraud prevention, and verification of payee is one of them. And of course, that's a great tool to prevent fraud, but we have to learn from, I think personally, we have to learn from what's happening in the cards world. The cards world has been there for a long time, and they've implemented multi-layer fraud. And this is important to transfer that also to the account-to-account transfer. Instant transfer, verification of payee is one of the layers. But for example, you can also look at implementing the user, binding them to their phone where their wallet is to make this account-to-account transfer, and taking that as a fraud prevention tool. So look at what the cards world has done and see what we can implement for that. Multi-layer is the answer.
I find that so interesting. Let's look at what the cards have done and learn from that and take it forward. Still on verification of payee, what are the implementation challenges you are seeing both for consumers and corporates?
Yeah, so that's also interesting because the regulation on verification of payee actually requires the banks to implement that only for consumers, right? So, and this can be done rather easily. Banks can connect to a party like Worldline, and the verification of payee will be done within a second, where the name and the IBAN are checked. I think the challenge lies rather more in the corporate bulk files, the batch files, right? So what does a bank do when they get a batch file? They need to check it on verification of payee, so name and IBAN check. What if one within that batch fails? Do they send the batch back to the corporate? Do they unbatch? So there are various ways, but it will influence the full payments process. So as Worldline, we have a solution that's not only doing verification of payee on an individual basis, but also on a batch file. And that will help not only banks, but the corporates behind them to still keep it a frictionless process. And that's important if you talk about frictionless payments, if you talk about challenges. Banks, it's November upcoming, they need to hurry up.
Sheri, it's really interesting to listen to this troubleshooting on the batch files as well. And thank you for this lovely umbrella view on instant payments. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. It was really enjoyable having this interview with you, and see you next year.
See you next year.